Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. This is Ruli here. I hope you guys doing good. And today we were looking at is empty box. And it's empty because I actually built this kit live on my channel. So go ahead, check it out on a live playlist. But yeah, this is essentially a T-64BV Ukraine main battle tank. And yeah, this is the box from the front of it. And you can see we have a minifig, we have a picture of the tank. This is the back side. And this is part of Brickmania Ukraine benefit kit lineup. And have a quick look at the stats. T-64 designed by Nathan Parker, 918 Lego pieces and all kind of other cool stuff, and 3 out of 5 elements. And yeah, I'm not gonna go through the instructions. The instructions are just the same as any other Brickmania instructions, on par with Lego, really well done. Let's go ahead and look at the build model that we have right here in front of us. Right, so before I jump into the build, pretty customary from my side is I'm gonna talk a little bit about the background of the vehicle, of the tank. So bear with me for that, but I am gonna get into the actual build details and printed elements in just a little bit. So the background, just whatever I say, take it with a grain of salt. I'm not expert on tanks, I'm not a historian. And of course, this is like modern stuff and some things may not be available for the public or whatnot. But I've read a couple articles, including Wikipedia, which is my favorite source of any kind of, my reliable source of any kind of information. So based on my quick readings, if you want to put it that way, this is a T-64BV model. And as I mentioned before, it's on the box. It's Ukraine's main battle tank. And the main reason is it's the main battle tank is because there's the most of it that Ukraine had. So what we're looking at here, which might get a little confusing, this is the upgraded version of T-64BV and recently upgraded by Ukrainians. However, the original tank T-64BV is actually a tank from the 70s, which is the old kind of Soviet Cold Era tank, which then in return was upgraded from T-64 from the 60s, which is T-64B, and so on. But so it's a little confusing, but Ukrainians did recently upgraded this tank into more or less modern standards in order to be able to be competitive enough with, I won't say modern, but also Soviet era upgraded Russian tanks. So some upgrades I'm just going to mention just really quickly that I think Ukrainians did. Again, to what I've read, they upgraded some optics. Then there was a thermal infrared upgrade made. The radio system inside was also upgraded. In some of the T-64BVs, the engine was also upgraded. And then the reactive armor, which is ERA, before it used to be the Soviet era Kinjal, then that was upgraded to the Ukrainian standard, which is Nosh, supposedly a little better. And then there were a few other kind of upgrades here and there. Now there's about 800 of T-64 tanks in general that Ukraine has. Some of them are upgraded, some of them not. There's some T-64BV upgraded, non-upgraded, T-64 Bulat, T-64 just whatever kind of setups they have. There's actually a bunch of T-80s that Ukraine has that inherited from the Soviet era. There's also about 400 of those guys sitting in the storage to the latest data, maybe now a little bit less, that are in the process of being upgraded. But unfortunately, Ukraine cannot manufacture no longer this tank because the factory in Kharkiv that they used to be manufactured to is essentially capable of only upgrading them. And to the latest information, that factory in Kharkiv is only upgrades about 100 T-64BVs or any kind of other T-64s per year, and unfortunately Ukraine is losing about 200, so you can probably do the math per year. But then here we go, we have our NATO boys, NATO allies coming through, and as far as I understand, they also send about 200 modern tanks to help out Ukraine with their tank losses. Now, one of the questions I received during live build of this tank, someone asked me, is this tank obsolete? And yes, this tank is definitely obsolete if you look at maybe modern NATO tank standards. If you look at the modern Leopards or Challenger tanks, of course this tank is definitely cannot compete. But we also have to understand that the Russians have a lot of stockpile of tanks from the Soviet era that are upgraded to about the same level as the Ukrainians are. Some of them better, some of them less. Of course, the new release tanks like T-90s are a little bit better because they're trying to push that with the technical and other kind of features closer to the NATO standards. But of course, everything else, this is a formidable tank that can fight on its own against kind of the Soviet era Russian tanks as well. Now, being said that, can this tank be a Russian tank, for example? And I guess in a way it can, because since this was manufactured, or T-64 was manufactured during the Soviet times, they end up in the different Soviet countries, would then include Russia as well. And as far as I stand, or I read that Russians got rid of theirs by giving them to the separatist regions. So the separatists in kind of eastern Ukraine had been using this T-64 tank, I guess under their like local Russian banners. But looking at this specific one, we can see that Ukraine tanks just have a bit of a different kind of camo. Maybe you can look at the camo topic a little bit closer. That here we have more of a brown, because Ukraine is kind of known to use brown. Russians, for some reason, doesn't like to use brown. They mostly use black, kind of lighter colors, or black, which brown would suit them very nicely at this time. But yeah. And of course, for this one, and of course the real tank, and then this Lego tank, you can see the machine gun is by European standards. Of course, if you want to make it Russian, for example, if it would have been something like Russian, you would use this Detesha machine gun instead of this one that we have here in place. All right, so let's go ahead and hop then into the tank itself. Sorry, talking about the camo. As we can see, the cool build that I really like about this specific model is that the ERA is made out of those like little golden nugget pieces, and I'm a sucker. I do really enjoy brick build camo, so there's definitely a lot of this happening here, as you can see on the turret and on kind of side skirts or side armor. And give you a little bit of a 360. We have a Ukrainian flag, which is brick built. And of course, we got to have a log, since it's a Soviet era tank or Russian tank. And this minifig does not come. I just kind of added here just for funsies. It does come with only one minifig. So let me go ahead and just get a closer look while we add it at the figure. Give it a little bit of a zoom. So the camo is done very nicely. Definitely like the outfit. Then you have the 3D printed tanker helmet. We have a little Ukrainian flag patch, and then we have a yellow kind of arm wrap here as well. I do like this digital camo that Ukrainians are using. Very nicely done. Very nice fit as well. Maybe take the helmet really quickly off so you can see the baklava or the head cover. All right. Put our guy back in the tank so he can do what he has to do. Alrighty. So we have some smoke grenades right on this side. You can see here. Let's go ahead and jump into the prints as well. We have our headlights. Those are printed. We have a driver's hatch right here. I don't know if you can see it, or how well can you see it. It's right here. So we have the optics. So we have a vision port or optics that's been printed. So that's done very nicely. And then some small prints, one here on the side. Same thing on this side as well. Whoops. Knocking out our smoke grenades launchers. And then one tiny little print right here on the log from both sides. And I'm always kind of talk about it. I'm always curious, why don't the Brickmania use Lego printed? Because Lego has a pretty nice printed log element right here. So they have a tile. So, but Brickmania somehow likes to use their own tiles. So yeah, just a little fun fact. And maybe show you the bottom a little bit too. So the bottom is completely studless. And it uses the Brickmania track links, which is 1.5, I think, in width. But one kind of not such a, I guess, negative critique I can say about this kit, which overall is just great. It does not roll really well. I mean, it kind of looks like it rolls, but actually does not. And I think because this added kind of side armor or the skirts, it's kind of has a little bit of an issue having this tracks or wheels roll properly. So it is basically essentially stuck there. So that's I guess one negative thing, which is quite big. I mean, if you want to play with the tank, but if you just kind of have it as a display model just to have a nice thing to look at, and this shouldn't be a big of an issue for you. Now there's also two hatches. One is both the tanker hatches that you can open and close. I think pretty standard for Brickmania models. And yeah, I think I already mentioned the brick arms right here on top. Yeah, that pretty much covers the build. This model is no longer available for sale. It's actually retired. You should be able to pick up a Ukraine instructions book that has this model in place from Brickmania website or whatever the resellers you can go to. All right, well, I hope you liked it. If you did, please put a thumbs up on this video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now. Peace.